Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Lauren here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Sophie, and she's selling her Amazon KDP and ACX business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, Sophie. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me on the show.
Lovely. I'm really excited that you're here and can't wait to learn more about your business. But before we dive in, I'm going to go over a brief summary of the business. This is an Amazon KDP and ACX business created in October 2015 in the parenting, lifestyle, and books niches. The average monthly revenue for the business is $32,008, and it makes an average of $26,300 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 57278 to learn more about the business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. Speaking of assets, let's see what assets are included in the sale. There is an Amazon KDP account, over 1,800 ebooks and paperbacks, 224 audiobooks, a domain and all site content and files, 5 Facebook pages, an email list with around 20,000 contacts spread across 3 lists, employee contracts and relationships, and 4 ACX accounts. So now that we know more about the business, let's learn more about the seller. Sophie, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. So I'm very familiar with Amazon and spent most of the last 8 years selling products, FBA, and I actually sold an Amazon FBA business back in 2015, and that was a 7-figure sale, and the happy owner of that business still makes tens of thousands of profit a month off that brand I built back in 2013. So I've been on the Amazon platform pretty much full time, which has been a great place to be living and working because I live in New Zealand and I've got young children. And so learning how to sell profitably on Amazon has just freed up my life immensely. It's meant I've had nice steady income and profits and a pretty low maintenance business model. Both the Kindle business and the products businesses I've really set up with systems and teams so that I'm really freed up and can travel. And I also teach this stuff. So I've been educating people on Amazon FBA for over 5 years and Kindle for the last year or two since I've been doing this myself. And I've really just enjoyed creating the businesses. I'm quite a creative person. I really like this getting into fiction side of the business. It was very different from the analysis and logistics of a products business, which had a bit of creative stuff at the start, coming up with brands. But I've really, really enjoyed this business model, partly because it's so much more profitable than any of the products I ever sold. And I just like that I can create an author profile, put a great team to work, and every few weeks a new book pops out and can publish them and see the profits. And it's just at that nice size where there's enough profit coming out, you can live off it really comfortably without having to do anything else. It's not just buying yourself a job. It's a really robust business. So I've really enjoyed building the team, creating the author profiles and seeing the whole thing just get to work for me. And now for sale for a potential buyer and have it work for them too.
Wonderful. Yeah, it certainly sounds like you've enjoyed a lot of success on the Amazon platform. Once you sold your FBA business, what drew you to the Amazon KDP model?
Well, I kept doing more Amazon products for years after that. So I sold 2 Amazon businesses over the years and I've just stuck with Amazon. You know, sometimes the grass looks greener and everybody shuffles off and plays on Shopify for a bit, or they go, oh, we should get into Walmart. But I've really just stuck with Amazon. And while some people grumble a bit about fees or inventory, usually any changes to the rules are tightening things up because of dodgy characters doing dodgy things. So Amazon likes to run a really clean platform and keep things really straight, which I appreciate. And it means the customers can trust everything they buy off the platform. And so when I sold the last business, it was products. I just kept selling more products and I still sell some products. The next step after this one, I'm really jumping into a couple of software businesses, which has been fun. So I started one and invested in another recently, and they're really sort of taking up a bit more time and need a bit more of my focus, which is partly why I'm selling this one. So I'll still be involved in Amazon in lots of different ways, but it's just been such a great platform because you don't need to go and find customers. You don't need to have some ninja marketing tactics to attract people and distract them while they're on Facebook, or keep up with all the social media trends, or have a great big production team coming up with catchy marketing material every week. Especially for the Kindle side of things, it's about as set and forget a business as you can design. It's just the best business model I've ever come across. Just create these digital assets once and they keep selling. And Amazon does the paperbacks, print on demand. That's actually a huge proportion of my sales and profits as paperback. I think mainly because I do quite a lot of non-fiction books and public domain books, sort of more of the classics. So people like to read a proper hard copy of those. But they sell all around the world in different languages, different markets, and just love the fact that when you sell on Amazon, all the customers are there searching with keywords for what they want to buy with, one click away, and that ebook lands on their Kindle device, or the book gets printed and shipped with Amazon Prime and it lands the next day. And, it's a brilliant customer experience. So if you choose where to own a business, it's where you've got all the, you should fish where the fish are. And so I just think it's the best place to be selling. Amazon makes it so easy, and they make money when we make money. So they're kind of incentivized to see our products get into the hands of the ideal customers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's great to have that support from the platform that you're selling on. So when you were setting up the KDP business, how did you choose what type of books to start producing? What were you drawn to there?
Well, I'd already written a couple of books under my own name about selling on Amazon. And then I think I might have been the first ever person to sell metal straws on FBA back in about 2013. And these things were flying off the shelves. And so I did an ebook on smoothie and juice recipes. So I figured out then, how to produce these ebooks and upload them onto KDP. And I sort of did a couple back then. And without touching them again, they always just trickled along, making a little bit of steady income. But then I could see the top sellers, the quality of their books. There's the big publishing houses, the big Penguin books and the classic American great novels. But there's this huge volume sort of in the middle of the market that's just voracious readers, people learning about stuff to educate themselves, people looking for advice around hobbies or skills, people trying to help entertain their children, not on screens, people wanting to be entertained and just looking for that escapism. And even with all the modern technology, the bang for buck for buying a really good ebook for 99 cents and having a few hours great reading, it's a huge, huge untapped market. There's very low competition and there's just so many readers out there. So I just think it's the place to be, and the business model's just so neat. And yeah, I've just really started with the non-fiction, sort of more of using my education background to teach people. Then I had some ebooks that supported physical products I was selling. And then it was actually in 2020, I was meant to be going to a big trade show in India with a bunch of my clients to help them find products in Delhi. And I was really looking forward to it. And then pesky COVID struck and we were all locked up and the show was cancelled and we couldn't travel. And for once I had a very clear calendar. So I thought I'll look into this Kindle thing a bit more. And so I listened to a podcast about public domain publishing and I thought, oh, that sounds good. Very low cost to get started. And I appreciate those books. I used to read lots more than I do have time for now, but I really enjoy good classics. So I found a bunch of those and some of those are going really well. One makes, a good few $1,000s profit a month, which is great. And some I've not really promoted enough. And, with the right advertising and a bit of a boost, they could probably do really well too. But I did tons of them. So I've got lots of those public domain books there. And then the next step was doing a little bit more of the strategy I would use to find a product to sell on Amazon, because I thought, well, I'm coming into this Kindle thing with a big advantage knowing how Amazon works for products, having done that for years. So I started really approaching it, where's the volume search for keywords on different nonfiction topics, and can I produce a book for that market, that customer that's searching, who wants to potty train a child or grow a container garden or make sourdough bread or whatever it might be. Those aren't actual real books that I do, but that kind of thing, just, a straight teach me how to type style of book. And I didn't need to be a subject matter expert. I figured out, this ghostwriting industry makes it really easy to run a book publishing business without writing a single word yourself. So I used an agency for some of the books. And then over time, I found some really good individual ghostwriters who do a great job. And I've got fixed price agreements and they turn things around really quickly, and they're really easy to communicate with and always churn out fast work, and it's good quality. And we get great reviews on these books. They've all got really high score reviews and lots of them that we've produced. So the next stop after my own books really was public domain, then nonfiction. And then finally, earlier this year, I decided I should really give this fiction thing a go, because that's where the big volume is. It's also cheaper to produce the fiction books, and there's more people read them. And not only do you get the book sales, there's another calculation Amazon does for people who have a thing called Kindle Unlimited, which basically they pay a fixed monthly amount and they can just read as many ebooks as they've got time for. And some of these people just plow through the books. They're amazing readers. And so there's a formula that calculates how many pages of your books were read by these people with the unlimited accounts. And so you get another whole royalty check each month for these, it's called Kindle Unlimited, basically, readers. So I thought it was time to get into fiction, because we had a pretty clean process running for the nonfiction and the public domain, and it was capable of a bit more scaling. And so basically I acquired small business that had a brand in it and learned about fiction that way. And then since then, I've grown a team. We've got a whole sort of schedule and calendar of future box sets and great stories mapped out in this particular genre that's really popular. And we get great launches, great reviews and great feedback. And the work per box set is about the same as per single nonfiction book. So I like to do a bit of brainstorming and create the outlines with my ghostwriters. We've got fixed rate agreements and fixed timeframes and things. We load up the milestones and off they go writing, and then the books turn out. So the fiction was the last one in, but it's probably, about half of the profits and revenue. And it's definitely where the volume is. And I'd say there's a lot of growth potential there too. And really happy to chat to the buyer about sort of brainstorming ideas for new series or new author profiles, or how to go about growing that site. I think there's just huge volume of readers, and it's very low competition in some areas of that fiction side. Some areas are a bit more competitive. Probably if you want to do another billionaire bad boy romance, it's a bit crowded, but there's plenty of pockets where you can make a big splash with a new book.
Wonderful. I mean, it certainly sounds as if you've been on a great journey with this business, starting off, as you say, in how-to books and ending up in fiction. That's fantastic. You can tell that you've got a passion for this business. What is the reason that you're selling it now? I know you touched on that, the fact that you're starting other businesses as well.
The reason I'm selling the business is I've been growing it and figuring out all the systems and all the processes and hiring the team that runs it all without me. So it's got to that nice stage where it's pretty autonomous and there's a good, clear plan ahead for new content. And I'm a pretty creative person. I've got lots of ideas for new projects, and it's at the stage now where it just needs someone to run it and optimize it. And I've been involved in a couple of software startup businesses, one that was my own idea and has had other investors put money in as business partners, and then another couple that I've funded as well. So they're all about to sort of come out and hit the market and need a bit more of my time and focus. The other thing is the borders are opening. We're allowed to travel again after a couple of years of being really cooped up. And so I'm really just actually looking forward to going traveling and having a bit of time to stop and think what I do next. And these other startups I've got will take up quite a bit of my time. And I just thought, with a couple of new things starting, this one's a great cash earner and I think should be really attractive to the right buyer. Maybe someone who's had an FBA business and gets the power of Amazon, but is maybe a bit sick of the shipping and inventory and lack of control of some of the really important parts of the business, or someone who's not terribly techie, but likes the idea of an online business, or someone who just wants a very low-touch business because there's this ready-made team, standard operating procedures and schedule, everything's all mapped out and easy to run. So it's at a nice sort of size and scale and running smoothly. And just thought it was a good time to put it on the market.
Yeah, fantastic. It certainly sounds like you've got some exciting times ahead of you. During your journey with this KDP business, is there anything that you learned that you would apply to the future sites of businesses that you'll be working on?
Definitely all about systems. And naturally, I am very creative and a little bit chaotic. And I have lots and lots of energy with ideas and at the front end of a project. And then what's let me down in the past is I just go off and keep starting things and don't really finish them very neatly or take them to their full potential. So what I've done with this business, which I will apply to future businesses, is really build a stronger team from early on, which is what I've done in this particular business. And the team with this business is available, and certainly all the processes, and there's a full library of standard operating procedures and checklists. And so those systems give me great peace of mind and let me sleep at night, and it makes the results far more predictable. And it makes the business more profitable because I'm not flying around fighting fires and reinventing the wheel each week. So it's quite a kind of process mechanical business. And to my creative mind, that sounds really constricting, but it's actually been the opposite and really freed me up to spend my time playing around with ideas and not having to end up, fixing up formatting because I've hired the wrong formatting person, something like that. So I've got one person does all the formatting, one person manages all the cover designs, and we use the same person for the cover designs. We've got a small team of writers who know what to expect. We look after them really well and they do great work for us. So a lot of these creative businesses kind of feel like they're all in my head, but this one, it's really out in systems and out with the team. And so that's been a really big success in the business, I would say, and something I'll have to maintain my discipline and fight my instincts on, but keep that habit going for future businesses of just being more organized, better at outsourcing, better at communicating with a team. We've used a couple of platforms like Asana to set everything up in Airtable, so we could hand over, all the templates, all the workflows really easily to the buyer, and they could just pick up and run those processes with pretty easy training. And we've done training for the buyer as well. So it's not come naturally to me to have to be so organized, but it's been a good thing, and it's made the business grow faster and run more efficiently. And if I got hit by a bus, it would be just fine without me, even if I'm not.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. But on the flip side of the coin, I'm sure there have been some hiccups, trying out a business model that you've never worked with before. If you had to go back and start the KDP business again, is there anything that you would do differently the second time around?
I would have probably done fiction a bit earlier. I think I was holding off on that because I had this idea in my head that because when I commission a non-fiction book and the writer's done their research and it's properly referenced and I read it and I understand it and can tell if it's a quality book or not, that's really easy to control the quality and the process. And I was really nervous before I started the fiction thing because I'm not an actual author. I don't write any of these books myself. I had this idea that I'd never be able to do quality control, and I'm not really in the head of the customer who reads this kind of book. But actually, when you hire the right ghostwriters and you do a little bit of market research, it doesn't need to be your favorite type of book that you would read yourself, and mine aren't really. It's a business and you're producing a product that the market wants, and there's a process that controls the quality and the frequency, and a really great team who really live and breathe whatever genre of fiction you want the books in, can do a wonderful job, and they want the work writing. I just couldn't believe that there's people out there that want to do all that hard work and not claim the sales. They just do it for a job and hand over the copy. So it's amazing that this industry works like this. I mean, incredible, really, that these talented writers just write for such a small fee, it seems to me, given the amount we earn off those books. So I really held back from doing fiction. I thought it was going to be way harder than it was. So I would do that sooner, and I would probably have hired a slightly more skilled team a little bit sooner. So I think I rolled through a few lower cost virtual assistants to do some admin stuff early on who just needed a bit more hand holding, and the time zones didn't quite work. And in the end, I paid them a little bit more and had them in different countries where the time zones worked a bit better for me. So that's worked really well. And you sort of never regret paying for quality. And that team means that not worrying about things day to day, it just all happens. So there's various emails that go out, there's various launches that happen, there's quality control, there's dates and deadlines set with milestones for writers. You need someone really competent who's not necessarily paid a huge amount of money as an hourly rate, but you just need someone who's good at details and a good organizer if it's not you doing it yourself. So that's one thing that is critical for scaling. And I got there, but I had a couple of false starts and mucked around trying to do too much myself for too long as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you do anything currently in terms of marketing the books, or do you just rely on Amazon traffic to bring viewers in?
Well, the main sales definitely are generated by Amazon's algorithm, just matching up keyword searches and customers seeing our books on page one. One thing I haven't done particularly well, and this is a big opportunity for the buyer, is to really sort out the pay-per-click advertising. So this was another area where I tried to get help, and various people from around the world said, oh, yep, I can be your assistant running your ads. And off they went and spent lots of time. But actually, we finally now got someone really good, and he's available to stay on with the business. And that's really been helpful for getting the advertising cost of sales right down. So those ads that we run now get a great return on investment. So that's the next level up from just waiting for the search results on Amazon. And then the thing we do with the fiction books is a bit of promoting through newsletter swaps. So there's full training on this for the buyer. It's not expensive or difficult, but it's just a process that a lot of the fiction authors use to help promote their books, because everybody has a fairly big list of readers and we can all help each other out when it's our turn to launch. So there's this whole very funny industry that's all run on massive Facebook groups and spreadsheets in the background, where when I've got a launch, they help me. And when they've got a launch, I help them. And there's a lot of belting out emails every day. Well, one email a day from us to our list. So we can give full training on that. It just needs either the owner or the buyer to do 10 minutes work a day, or you can outsource it. So I outsource it, and that's what we do there. And that's about it. There's other things you could do. The list goes on and on, but we keep it really simple. We've really focused on creating a lot of high quality books rather than doing a small number and pushing them really, really hard. So anyone with a marketing background or much better organized when it comes to scaling up pay-per-click ads than we've been up till now would be off to a flying start. And then, cross-linking to other email lists or Facebook ads would be a good option too, but I've never done those for these books. You could do all sorts of giveaways and things as well. So there's lots out there. Yeah, but we keep it pretty simple. I want it to be a pretty low maintenance business.
Yeah, certainly. And it sounds like you've streamlined it quite well. So in terms of streamlining, can you walk me through your typical work week? How many hours per week do you spend on the business, and what tasks take up your time?
It's pretty easy. I have Mondays off. And then on Tuesdays, I have a 9:00 call with my team. One of them's in a country where the time zones don't quite work for her. So we just have a Skype call and we catch up on basically the work in progress. Is everything on schedule? When's the next launch? How are the cover designs looking? So in the background between that one weekly meeting, which takes maybe half an hour or less, we could actually do it just by messaging. It's just we quite like to check in. So on that call, we'll check in. There'll have been various cover designs or manuscripts come through that will have been approved by my team. And I sometimes want to see those. So I always look at the cover designs because I sort of have a strong view on these, but I'm not going to be proofreading every book or anything. So somebody in my team proofreads all the manuscripts that come back in from the ghostwriters, formats them if they need formatting. It depends who's done the writing. The agencies doing nonfiction give us a fully final, formatted, ready to upload book and book description. The ghostwriters doing the fiction, we need to do a little bit of formatting. And then we commission the two book covers, the ebook version and the paperback version, and also the Audible version if we're doing an audiobook, which we do for most of the nonfiction books. And so they all get uploaded by the VA, the virtual assistant. So we make sure all those tasks are happening on time, that haven't been any holdups. And it's pretty straightforward. So sort of we just run through, is everything on track as expected? And then we only discuss, this writer needed a bit of an extension, or we've been approached by another author to see if we want to do a promotion with them. So we have an inbox for the fiction author, and that would be transferred to the buyer. And there's various bits of correspondence sometimes come through there. But, I could probably squish it all into an hour a week with my team. And if I wanted to get more involved, then obviously you could get right into all the weeds. But the main contribution I make is that kind of research on what the market's buying and giving some creative direction to the writers. I don't do the detailed outlines myself. I get the writers to write the outlines for fiction. And then they really buy into the story and the series they're about to write. And then they get into it and start writing. And I pay them through Upwork. We have contracts on Upwork for those writers, which keeps it really clean. And, if they don't do the work, they don't get paid. And they pay a little bit of their earnings and commission to Upwork, but it makes it really easy for us to project manage what's where. And then we've got a big table of all the dates of what's launching. So we check that that's all on track. And then we check things like the ad spend and sales couple of times a month, but we don't track that all day, every day. There's sort of a dashboard KDP reporting is a little bit basic, really, compared to the data you get on a products business, or even if you own your own website, there's way more data to pick over and decide what to do about. But on KDP accounts, you get basically the sales of the different formats. All the books that we launch, we think, well, should we get this one translated into Italian? Does this suit the audiobook format? So there's a few minutes discussion like that on every book we launch. But really, it's pretty much the same cycle round and round and round again and again and again. It's quite mundane, really, the process for each new book. And then the virtual assistant who manages the upload, she's got to log into my account. She's available to work for the buyer as well. And so she logs in, loads it all up, lets me know it's online, and I get an email in my inbox a few minutes later saying your book is now available for sale on Kindle, and off we go. And that's it. And then when that comes in, we let the ad guy know there's a book there ready to promote, and he's available for the buyer so he can set up the pay-per-click advertising and figure out the keywords for it and start scaling up the ones that work. And so whether the business sells quickly or not, either way, I'll be having, a good long holiday in the next few weeks, and it won't affect the running of the business at all. It doesn't slow down. If I've got a good schedule of books for the next few months lined up, then, in a few minutes a week, I can quickly check everything's on track, sign off on anything, pay the team. That's another task we do every couple of weeks. And in fact, I think that's monthly now for everyone. We try to get everyone monthly so we could batch them up. So it's pretty easy. There's not really any stress. There's never any products stuck in ports in LA on a ship that can't get unloaded. Amazon doesn't change our inventory limits. Things don't get stuck with tariffs and fees, or, there's just no moving parts. So simple compared to a products business. And it's so much easier to get a sale than having to run Facebook ads and drive traffic to your own site. So it's my favorite business I've ever had. I love it.
Yeah, wonderful. And it certainly sounds like you've built up a well-oiled machine. Very impressed with the processes you've got going there. For the new buyer coming in, if they're not familiar with the KDP business model, what skills or requirements would you say are needed to run this business successfully?
Well, I can give full training. So I actually teach this stuff. I've got a program that I teach online to clients all around the world. So could give that full training, that would be included. And also, as far as sort of predispositions and skills and temperament, it's not a terribly techie business. You don't need to be a reader or a writer or great at spelling or English. It's pretty low capital. Obviously, buying the business is an investment, but the cost of producing each new book is really quite low given the return you can get on that book over its lifetime. So the financial side of managing it's actually very simple. There's, a bunch of expenses around writers, some ad costs, and that's it. There's no monthly Amazon fees, there's no storage, there's no shipping. So every dollar you spend goes into a sellable digital asset that's around forever. So not particularly tricky from a financial management side. Managing a couple of virtual assistants, that can be done, through instant messaging and maybe a weekly check-in. So no fancy management skills. Understanding how Amazon works, that's what I would cover in the training and handover if the buyer's not familiar with Amazon. And also hiring the right writers and the right team is one of the trickier bits, but that's been done for you. So we would just hand all that over. And yeah, there's some really talented writers in this team who are happy to keep going, and the author profile is going strong. So there's a little bit of researching what's working on Amazon, which is all very transparent because you can see on Amazon what's in the top of each category. You can see what the top selling book covers look like. You can read the reviews of the other books in your niche. You can work with your ghostwriters to brainstorm ideas. You don't need to come up with all the creative stuff yourself. And I'm actually really happy to stay involved in helping with some brainstorming on future box sets or how to keep growing that fiction brand especially. There are some research tools that can help save a bit of time doing keyword research, especially for non-fiction. And that's a good time saver and a $50 investment that's probably well worth doing. And that helps you just see what traffic is going and looking for different keywords on Amazon each month, and then what the sales of the top non-fiction books for those topics are. So I can give some training on that software tool. It's pretty simple, but just saves a bit of time when you're thinking what to publish books on next. Or you have the option of just buying it and holding it. Don't buy it and keep cranking. Just buy and enjoy $20,000 profit a month without adding new titles. So up to you whether you want to really push on and expand the brand, or do maybe, half a dozen books a year or a dozen books a year. And that keeps you just ticking along and keeping the writers busy and up to you on your ambition and pace, what you want to do with it. But it's a really nice size where you wouldn't need to have another day job or another business alongside it. It's a really solid sort of annual profit margin to live off, which I rather like. So other things about the buyer and what they would need. Not terribly techy. Uploading the ebooks is basically attaching a Word document or attaching a PDF. You wouldn't need to do the formatting yourself. That's a really cheap thing to outsource, and the girl on my team is available to do that for you. I think that's everything. Have I missed anything, Lauren, about things that buyers ask about? Could I do this? Oh, time's very low commitment. No particular background or skill. I've seen really young people doing well with Kindle. I've got baby boomers and retirees busy getting started with businesses in this space and doing really well. So it's kind of a very open opportunity. I just think it's so low competition, having thrashed it out with these FBA products for the last few years where, there's some really big budgets and some really sharp marketers and huge launches and people doing huge loss leaders to get a product up and selling. This Kindle game is just a walk in the park by comparison. It must be less than 10% of the, not stress, but, just the volume and the complexity of work. It would be, 5% of the complexity of a product's business. About, I don't know what percentage less in hard financial costs of doing a launch, but certainly for around about $1,000, you've got a new book up to sell, which is great. And it's very quick. It's really nice to have an idea, commission your writers, in a few weeks, not a few months later, you're up and selling. So we've got good processes and made it as easy as possible for the next owner to take it and run with it.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like you've got a strong asset here. A good, profitable business, takes minimal time. It certainly sounds like a wonderful business. Are there any risks associated with the business that buyers should be aware of?
Well, none that only the ones that you really can't avoid, like Amazon does something crazy that nobody can control. But Amazon makes a lot of money off these books. And Amazon started as a bookstore, and they really won't want to lose this market. They worked really hard to close down the high street bookshops and own this space. And they invented the Kindle. And there's a few copies of the Kindle, but really they're the dominant player, over 90% of ebook in the world. So I think Amazon won't want to mess around authors or self-publishers. They'll really want to make this easy and attractive for authors and self-publishers to put their content up there so that customers and readers have the most choice in all the latest and best books. So I don't think it's rational for Amazon to make it harder for authors in the future. I think they're really enjoying the fact that they make so much profit off these digital assets. Everything else Amazon does has staff and warehouses and delivery drivers and other dramas, and this must be really easy business for them. They could change the commission structure. I guess that's a risk. The risk of losing any key players in the team is low. I mean, they're all engaged and well looked after and enjoy their work and do a great job. If any of them left and, with a reasonable notice period, all of those skills could be replaced. There's no superstar player who's so unique you couldn't do it without them. So even the ghostwriters, there'd be time and enough of a forward schedule to find new writers. No, I think that certainly don't see any other platform getting close to Amazon. So one strategy, this is an important point. So I've only published on Amazon and Audible. The buyer might choose to publish wide, which is, getting onto Apple's iBooks and into Barnes and Noble's bookstores and, really expanding the sales laterally that way, which is an interesting opportunity, which I haven't looked at because I just always stick with Amazon and there's plenty going on there for me. But that's another opportunity to take those existing titles and publish them elsewhere, not just on Amazon. But that would be another way to protect the business in the future too. I also get quite a few of the titles translated into other languages just to diversify a bit again. I think all booksellers had a particularly good run through COVID. So I noticed, I had some whopper months when the US was in lockdown, just huge sales when everyone was stuck at home and needed some good entertainment or to finally get around to learning about being a day trader or a Montessori home teacher or something, whatever they do. So we sold lots and lots of books in that period. And so it's a really pandemic-proof business. It's a recession-proof business. There's no shipping or, president brings a new tariff with China and suddenly your profit margin's gone. It's a pretty robust platform and a very profitable business model. I'd say over the next 5 years, there'll be more competition. That's what we saw with FBA products. It was really, really low competition and we all wish we were back in those days. And then as more people realized what a great opportunity it was, then more sellers turned up. But the number of book topics is just so wide that you would always just have a strategy of going where there's high demand but low to medium competition, and not go into the highly competitive fields. Like you'd never do a book on ketogenic diets or anything really, really competitive like that. But there's plenty of book topics to go around. And yeah, I think the opportunity is just perfect timing. It's a really solid business model on a great platform with great margins and digital assets. It's like the holy grail of online business.
Yeah, those are all fantastic points. And I think buyers are going to be listening to all of this very keenly. When it comes to the sale, would you be open to negotiating something like an earnout?
I'd prefer to keep it pretty clean. The reason I'm selling it is to refocus on these software businesses I've got going, and also just to buy a bit more time and freedom. And with a couple of new projects starting, I think one should go. And although it doesn't take up very much of my time, that payout would help me grow some of the other businesses faster than if I have to, go and get alternate funding sources. So I think clean is good. Never say never, but certainly would prefer a clean deal with pretty much sort of upfront, and make sure that there's a really good handover and transition and forward planning, and happy to stay involved sort of advising, but not as a partial owner still or on any kind of equity deal, ideally.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. And would you be willing to commit to a non-compete agreement?
Of course, yes. Obviously, the buyer needs to have a fair chance and every chance of success, and I'll clear out their way and leave them to it and give them my very best help I can, and hope they really succeed with it.
Wonderful. So, Sophie, what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
I just think it's such a low competition industry. Everything else I've done online, I've had to work so hard to crack Facebook ads or pick the perfect FBA product to private label and figure out shipping. And then you get product in stock and there's all these other people selling it, and the factory starts selling it or Amazon starts selling it. So the glory days of low competition are just, the time to make hay while the sun's shining. And this is at Kindle's really low competition. There's hardly anyone serious in this space doing what we do. So there's the kind of the independent authors who are the people that write themselves and they want to publish the books they've written. And there's some very good writers there producing really high quality, great books that they write completely themselves from scratch, and they go about marketing those books themselves or through an agent or however they do it, maybe through a big publishing house. So there's people like that, but they writing the books themselves, so they don't scale. They just, can only go as fast as they can write. They might have a great brand and they, the really good ones get to the top, but there's a lot of budding writers, writing by night and trying to do their novel that's on their bucket list. That's not tough competition for us. There's the big publishing houses are such dinosaurs, the have a editor have to approve your manuscript. J.K. Rowling got rejected something like 23 times with Harry Potter. So that whole old school publishing industry is still stuck in the dark ages. They also would, if they just said to their clients, their authors, we're just going to really stick this book on Amazon and push it there, the authors would be like, well, I could probably just do that myself, or don't really need to pay you guys to do that and take 10% of your profits, and you keep 90% for you just to put it up on Amazon. So they still do all the billboards and the book signings and the book readings and the TV shows to get these books selling. But there's not really many people focusing on KDP as a business opportunity, like approaching it. I want to create digital assets that sell for profit. I will produce what the market wants to buy, reverse engineer it. I'll stay top of the tactics that work, have a quality team. Like there's not many of us doing that. There's, hardly anyone. So I think we're in a great spot and a great time to really maximize that opportunity of lots and lots of demand, and the competition's not really there. So I wish I'd been more grateful for that over the last couple of years, and probably gone even faster again, because it's just been so easy.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a wonderful opportunity. As you say, a lot of untapped potential there. So for the last question of the interview, and one that I think buyers will all be listening to very intently, if you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think your business is a business worth buying?
Well, within the whole range of online businesses, I really think KDP is the best business opportunity at the moment. It's got such high profits, just that 30% to Amazon for an ebook, and that's it, and then no ongoing costs once you've produced it. So I'm absolutely certain KDP is the place to be selling anything online at the moment, and especially the fact you can tick a few boxes and turn it into a paperback as well, and then they print that on demand. You've got all those customers there and low competition. So I've talked about that enough. So I do believe KDP is the best place to be online. Then for my particular business, I'm really proud of the team and the processes and the systems that we've got, the quality of the writers and the track record of those books written by the ghostwriters who are available to you. Obviously, I teach this stuff, so I've got experience and a reputation and want to protect that. So I want to do a really good job for you and make sure that you buy a great business that continues to prosper. Plus, I can, with my background as an educator, can do a really good training and handover. So give you my full online course. But on top of that, give you some help and coaching, some strategy stuff for the year ahead on new books and how we can keep these writers lined up with a good workload for the next 6 or 12 months so that you're carried right through as you're learning the ropes. And then, of course, my lovely team, a couple of those would be available and would cover sort of 80% of what you need. There'd be a couple of little gaps for you to fill, but we could help you fill those and recruit and train the right gap fillers. And then you'd be up and running. So I think it would be a very smooth handover, very quick. The other notable thing with my account is there's just so many books. We've got about 1,800 books on this account. So anybody who's good at advertising, should be listening in, because this is a great opportunity to really crank those keywords while the competition's so low for pay-per-click advertising. It's just pennies or cents per click. And the books are really good quality. So they've got a really high score on the Amazon reviews. Some of them have got a lot of reviews. And also there's a good mix there. It's really well diversified. We've got public domain, which is republishing the 100-year-old classics. So there's lots of those, and some of those are really good earners. There's the non-fiction, which are good steady earners, and in different languages as well for those non-fiction books. And then there's the fiction, which is where I think the future growth could mainly come from. If you really wanted to push it, you could create another couple of author profiles and up the rate of new books, and that would be a new way to grow the business as well. So I think that's a pretty rare combo of systems, different genres, different formats, different languages, different marketplaces. So we make huge sales in Italy, of all places. For some reason, we do more in Italy than other European countries all put together. Great team and handover and training. So you would just be up and running. And yeah, I really want to see you succeed. The man who was this chap in Utah bought my Amazon business off me in 2015, which he paid 7 figures for. And that still runs really well. And I always check his sales. And I had a tea business I sold, which was a subscription business. It was the first organic tea private label brand on Amazon back in about 2017. And the investors who bought that business always check in to see if I've got any more products businesses. I'd sell them because that one's gone really well. They made over $1 million on that last year, on that tea brand I started, and sold them way too early, slightly regretting that. So anyway, really want to see you succeed. That's the big thing.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a wonderful business, and I'm sure buyers are going to be queuing up to talk to you about this one. Sophie, is there anything that you'd like to share with our listeners that I might have missed?
I don't think so. I'm very open to any questions. If you've got, anything that's not clear in the prospectus, or you want to just have a chat and see if it's right for you, happy to talk anytime.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the show. It's been really wonderful talking to you.
Thanks, Lauren, and thank you for taking the time. I think it's really good for buyers just to get more of a feel for what the business is about, who it's been built by, and what it's all about than you can get just from reading sentences and numbers and looking at charts, because the future of these businesses is really based on the quality of the groundwork that's been done. And so you want to know you're buying something that's been well set up and can continue to grow and be profitable.
Yeah, definitely. I think this interview will help buyers get to know you and the business a lot better. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from a lot of interested people very soon.
I hope so. Look forward to talking to them. Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 57278. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.